Today we are having our first discussion podcast thingy because I don't know.
You had
Why not?
an idea? Yeah.
I
It's
had an
basically
idea.
it's like a round table if we were at a table and it was round and we had more than two people.
So it's more like a line table.
Yeah, it's like a back and forth table. It's like a ping pong table of discussion. Ooh.
Yeah, I like it. It's a ping pong ushin. Huh?
Yeah, you kind
anyway.
of killed it. I think I got
know.
everything I needed to get at that.
I pushed too far.
So Cole, what is our discussion about today?
Our discussion is a response to a June 16th article because we are not anything if topical, called "We're Losing All Our Strong Female Characters to Trinity Syndrome," written by Tasha Robinson of The Dissolve. And it's essentially about
It's
how
a really good article, by the way.
amazing article. You should definitely check it out if you haven't. It's essentially about how female characters, even though they're creating more strong female characters, they are still utterly useless in the plot, and so really kind of denigrative more so than uplifting to female
and
characters.
basically what the Trinity Syndrome is, which of course comes from Trinity from the Matrix, is that
Yes.
you get introduced to a female character, and when you first do, she's awesome, she's badass, she is a strong independent character and functions as an individual character, but then very quickly they just become romantic fodder, or they become the damsel in distress, or they basically lose everything that you were introduced to. They're never as cool as they are when you were first introduced to them.
Yeah, and
They pretty much go by the wayside after that.
Yes, the other thing they can turn into is a MacGuffin, which I think is probably the most common one. That's kind of what Trinity really did become, is a MacGuffin, like a love
just basically the
interest
catalyst
MacGuffin.
to get
Like,
the male. Yeah, the catalyst to make the male hero become what he needs to be and save the day. Like whether it's through like getting raped or getting killed or being in danger or something like that. Really, all they're there to do is to make the male protagonist save the day or get on his A game.
Yeah, which is really weird about the whole Trinity thing, since famously the one of the Wachowski brothers became a female during their time making the next two Matrix films after the first, I think.
But anyway, we're still very off topic because the reason we're talking about this today is that we wanted to decide or kind of discuss if Leeloo from The Fifth Element would be considered a strong female character.
Yeah. So one of the things about Tasha Robinson's article is she has a list of questions if you can answer yes or no to. And I'm sure we'll get to that, but let's just start off with The Fifth Element. I'm sure if you're even listening to us, you have a cursory interest in movies, and so you've seen The Fifth Element like every good film lover should.
Yeah, because again, no matter what we come across saying today, like, it is an awesome movie, and I enjoyed the hell out of watching it again.
Yeah,
and the thing is that I was watching it with more of a critical eye, looking from this perspective of trying to see about this character, if she's strong or not, or a good female character. But the thing is, it's a silly sci-fi action movie with some comedy elements. Like, that's what it is. It's stupid to take it so seriously, but
at the same time, it really does. It does present this weird conundrum with a female character where it has an amazing, she seems like an amazingly strong female character, but at the same time, just looking back, I can easily see her as a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
that she definitely. She ends up just needing the male character to protect her, and that's kind of her role to a certain extent.
Oh yeah, which is pretty much it. And yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff from that article, because this will come up in the conversation. But what kind of works against a strong female character is basically like the character kind of being worshipped or praised for beauty or badassery without any flaws, no imperfections, kind of just relying on sex appeal or looks or being badass, and being portrayed as an object. Like, doesn't really have their own arc or story. They're only there to play into the male protagonist's story.
Yeah.
And one of the main things which comes up all the time in The Fifth Element is that she is defined by the males around her. They tell her what she is, who she is, and what her importance is.
Yes,
She's more of a byproduct to the male protagonist's view than an actual person.
And that's where it gets fuzzy, because she's so strong, but she is definitely in the end.
But is she, though? Because when looking back at it, okay, first of all, I have to make this note because it's kind of weird. yes, she is a female character, but she's not even actually human. She is an alien.
That is the caveat to this. She's not even an alien. She is technically an unknown element that they have created from
pretty
nothing.
much what happened was that the aliens that were coming to help, all they found left after the wreckage was just like a hand of one of them. And they basically recreated that DNA, and that's what it turned into. So
well, they have a machine that creates humans, and so I guess that's the reason it came out that way, is they had to create it from this DNA, and they only have the power to create humans from DNA. So it's taking alien DNA and injecting it into a human.
Yeah, either that, or they did just have Mila Jovovich in one of those big fucking suits coming with them.
Whichever way. But once again, it's kind of a stupid sci-fi movie, but it's a great way to discuss the intersection of female protagonists, because she really is smack dab in the middle.
Here's the thing, though, is that she is not the protagonist. This is Bruce Willis's movie through and through. Like, he is the star. He's the lead. Mila Jovovich is fourth billed in this movie.
Really? Yeah, behind Ian Holm?
Yeah. It's
and behind
Bruce
Gary
Willis,
Oldman.
Gary Oldman, Ian Holm, Mila Jovovich, Chris Tucker, and Luke Perry. That's the order of it.
What?
Yeah, Luke Perry gets the "and" credit.
Luke Perry gets above Ian Holm's assistant, who I can't remember his name.
Well, exactly. That's because he didn't get the "and" credit.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. She is awesome in this movie. I really like her. But, okay, she's always talked about as being this perfect being. You figure she's this killing machine. Like, she can take care of herself. She's a badass. But when it comes down to it, she gets 1 2 to 3 minute long fight scene in this movie that ends badly for her. And right after that, Bruce Willis gets about a 10-minute long badass shootout explosion fight sequence to one up what she just did.
That's very true.
And not only that, the more I looked at this, the more I think this film is kind of anti-woman.
I can easily see that,
honestly, especially other than Leeloo, who even she falls into some of this category. Every other female in the movie is really just a sex object or a stereotype.
Yeah, a nagging mother,
or sexy stewardess.
Yeah, or as a secretary that changes her nails all day.
Oh yeah. Secretaries is all we see. When they're on the plane, there are these flight attendants that, seriously, this is supposed to be 200 years in the future from now, and they reverted back to swinging 1960s outfits.
It's bad, yeah.
And they're all have the same blonde wigs and freckles and just their boobs almost hanging out and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, but not only that, but if you actually listen to some of the dialogue in here, the first talk about women in this movie involves Bruce Willis calling his ex a two-timing slut, or his friend calling him that, and Bruce Willis just wanting a perfect one, as in a perfect woman, not a perfect woman, but a perfect one, an object.
Well, that also goes back to the first time that Mila Jovovich is presented. It's the doctor objectifying her. The first time she's actually in a human shape, he looks at her naked body and says, she's perfect.
Yeah. Not only that, but I needed to take some pictures.
Yeah, I need to take some pictures.
But yeah, no, she is immediately just gawked at and referred to as perfect. She is referred to as an object so much as that. Ian Holm has the line, she's like, this woman is mankind's most precious possession. She's perfect.
Yeah.
She is a complete object to them. And again, that's the thing, is that she is defined by the male characters in this movie. They tell her she's the perfect being. She is this. She has to go do this. She really, even though she does some of the stuff herself and knows her mission and goes on it, she's pretty much pushed forward by the male characters in this movie.
True. Well, but then let's look at it from from Leeloo's character.
Yeah.
So after she's objectified, which, I mean,
happens all throughout the movie.
Yeah, but that could easily also be attributed to subversion from the standard, because after she's objectified, the guy comes up assuming she's a weak woman and just kind of taunts her with, oh, you want your freedom? Well, you're going to have to take it from me, and kind of taunts her with that. She immediately breaks through the glass, and she gets her own freedom. And so that can be seen just as easily as a subversion to his objectification. And she has her own agency. She makes her own escape, and
a little bit, but it's not she had a plan or is really pushing for it. She is very much just a MacGuffin to get the story going. She is completely unaware of like her environment around her until a little bit later on. And again, she happens to crash into Bruce Willis's cab, and then as soon as he turns around and looks at her, sexy music starts playing. So like immediately she is just like the love interest object for him.
But also she's being played as kind of a foreigner, like a stranger in a strange land, kind of Jesus type situation.
She is, but it's not only that, but just the way, because she is very funny in the movie, and she is played for comedic effect because of the way she talks, but it's almost because of like a childlike innocence or just kind of an ignorance more so, to where like it's kind of almost like laughing at her like, oh, silly woman, not understanding how things work.
Yeah, but so let's go flash forward after the whole cab scene where she has to beg Bruce Willis for help, which, I mean, either way, I mean, that could easily be written off either way, I think.
Oh, yeah, well, because obviously, you know, she's being chased by cops or whatever and she needs help.
Yeah.
But I will say that, okay, so this big action thing happens. She does do her escape. Well, what's the very next thing that happens? She passes out, and Bruce Willis has to carry her, like, across the threshold and take care of her and stuff. She basically passes out while the plot moves along and some exposition happens.
Well,
which happens several times in the movie.
That's also attributable to her not having on her seatbelt that Bruce Willis knows to put on. And so another where it could be attributable to her being a foreigner. But again, I thought she was supposed to be
this kind of perfect, indestructible being and stuff. Like, obviously not completely indestructible, but like,
she's in a human body that she's never been in before, also.
Yeah, I could definitely see. And she is almost kind of like a manic pixie dream girl in a way. She's kind of quirky and silly, only she's like alien and dangerous.
Well, I guess
but at least from Bruce Willis's point of view, she almost kind of comes off as like this kind of quirky, silly kind of thing, because she is played for comedic effect at sometimes, and he just like immediately smitten with her.
Yes, well, the scene, and this is one where I think once again subversion kicking in, is when Bruce Willis brings her to Ian Holmes. He lays her on the couch and he decides to kiss her, and she steals his gun, puts it to his head and says, "Gammo ectogamut," or something like that.
Not without my permission or whatever.
Yeah, which means not without my permission. So she has already taken that kind of classic, like, Cinderella, like, needs to be saved by a prince, and it's turning it on its head to a certain extent.
A little bit, yeah, because, again, she is able to pull that out and stuff, but...
Yeah. So that
again,
shows...
That's a little bit, and she does deliver some exposition at times, but she also, I think there's 3 different times where she's kind of naked in this, even though it's kind of like a little bit background.
In the background, yeah.
But every time, someone has to comment or like look about her perfection. And you can pretty much like see her nipples all throughout this movie and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So like she is treated very much like a sexual object, because as soon as that happens, even Ian Holmes' little sidekick is like, wow, they made her perfect, right?
See, and she is treated as a sexual object, but they keep her distance because she's dangerous at the same time. Like,
a little bit, but as much
as he's objectified, I feel like she is also... She's absent from that objectification to a certain extent because she's foreign.
Oh yeah,
like, I feel like there's a certain foreignness.
She is definitely not the protagonist. Again, she is very much MacGuffin, because she doesn't even appear until like half an hour in. I think she has maybe 45 minutes of screen time the whole movie, which is like a 2-hour something movie.
Yeah, it's definitely Bruce Willis's movie.
Oh yeah,
by far.
But also, just in speaking about women in general in this movie, when they first come to Bruce Willis's apartment to give him the mission to like go on the cruise or whatever and get the stones from the diva. Mm-hmm. The military people come in and they were like, "Here, she's gonna be your wife for the mission." And it's this like larger, kind of homely looking woman, like kind of butch looking woman, and he's immediately just like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna go." And they seriously just make like an ugly fat woman joke.
Yeah, and you're very right. This movie is definitely. If you want to talk about male gaze, like, male gaze is definitely present within this movie the whole time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's
and again, even in that same scene in the apartment, we get again another nude scene, because she ends up in a wet t-shirt and there's sexy jazz music playing during the scene.
And I almost feel like that because the movie does have a theme of like film noir that's never quite like fully fleshed. Like it's present, but it's really slight.
Yeah, somewhat, because in a way, Jovovich is kind of like a femme fatale, but just not
little
knowingly
bit.
so, just because she
Yeah.
does get the male protagonist into trouble and gets him in over his head and into this whole big kind of mystery thing or this whole big action thing. But again, she's not knowing or wanting to do this. It just happens that way.
Well, she knows what she's doing. She just doesn't understand the world that she's doing it in. Because there's that scene when they first get on the plane, and she's like, "No, me protect you. Me, Fifth Element." So she is kind of presenting her
when
agency
they get on the
to an
plane and do
extent.
that, though, I don't know if you noticed this, but I certainly did. She says that. She's like, I protect you. Bruce Willis gets this look on his face like, you're so adorable.
Yeah, and that's...
But
And I guess that leads to where we naturally go next, because it's a bunch of Bruce Willis and a little bit of Leeloo, but Leeloo has her fight scene with the
But before
Gorgons.
we get to the fight scene, though, I will say, throughout the whole first part of this movie that she is in it, that she is shown as a badass. She is talked about like she is perfect. She's a badass. She is a warrior. They call her a warrior. But then, without really seeing anything else or any other side of her as a character, then all of a sudden, about halfway through, when they get to the plane area, then several characters start talking about, like, I know she's supposed to be strong, but she's also so fragile. Like, oh, she's more fragile and soft than you think. Like, they build her up as this big thing, and they're like, oh, even though we haven't seen anything of this sort yet, like, oh, no, but she's fragile, she's soft. Like, she's a lady, too.
And I would say if they had framed it better, if they had written the lines more so, well, she doesn't realize how fragile she is. Like, well,
that's the thing,
did...
is that everyone in this movie has only kind of known her or seen her for a day and not even much, and haven't really seen what she's capable of. And two, saying a character has depth doesn't give the character depth.
No, and I agree with you, but I'm saying, I guess my point, like, just to play the devil's advocate, is that they may be... that's also a subversion, that they are attributing female characteristics to her that don't necessarily apply to her.
Exactly,
but they do
because,
in the end.
Who knows what kind of gender she actually was at some point, or what it was supposed to be.
Well, I mean, because her
and
DNA,
then again,
obviously...
it also eventually ends up with that whole lame, like, love is the fifth element kind of thing.
Yeah, and it gets... But, I mean, that's also
but again,
kind
that's
of
just
where
in
the movie is
story.
leading towards.
Yeah, exactly. And that's totally fine, because it is somewhat of a love story. But if we're just talking about Leeloo as a character and whether, she is actually a good or strong female character, as opposed to just, again, kind of a MacGuffin.
Yeah, I want to point out, like, that I think those lines could have been phrased better, that... oh, she's so fragile, but they could have said, like, she doesn't realize how fragile she is, because she was in a big metal fucking body, and now she's in a human body that she doesn't really understand. They could have played it that way, but they don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't play it that way at all. So it's almost a moot point, but this is also where authorial intent comes in, because Luc Besson is definitely making this movie as a misogynist. I will not deny that.
Yeah.
But I would say it almost could be read in a feminist way. Like,
partially, but
almost.
Again, when we get on the plane, though, and you do have the female flight attendants, of course, there's the one seduced by Chris Tucker and stuff, but there's also one where Chris Tucker is coming down, and he, like, just completely hits one of them with his fucking cane, and she, like, flies into, like, a cubby or something.
Yeah.
And, again, it's played for laughs, like, women being seduced by a man, women being pushed aside and hit by a man, are played for laughs. And again, it is, like, kind of a silly movie and stuff, but that's just the theme, women-wise, all throughout the movie.
No, if it had like one other female character that doesn't just come off looking like an idiot, I would have appreciated this movie a lot more. And I could say that, no, they were kind of being feminist. They were just showing these girls are just kind of like, they're just as stupid as Ruby Rod. Ruby Rod is a stupid fucking character.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Like,
and one of the only times I've ever liked Chris Tucker, by the way.
What Friday? Come on.
I said one of the only times.
Okay.
It's pretty much this Friday and when he gets killed in Jackie Brown. That's about it.
His scene is awesome in Jackie Brown. Yeah. But so we go on, and then Leeloo has her fight scene, which is once again her proving her own age. Well, we have the opera singer, who is not entirely a female character because she's alien, but definitely a female character.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And
again,
also...
she is completely a MacGuffin.
Yeah, it's definitely a MacGuffin.
But see, here's the main difference that I saw between because there was this action set piece, and then immediately after was the big one with Bruce Willis. Okay, so not only is it just like a 2 to 3 minute fight sequence, but this one is played silly. It's played lighthearted. There's like the music going, and then it cuts back and forth to the blues singer kind of like doing weird dance moves and singing kind of funky and stuff. And it's just kind of like silly, like fast moves and stuff like that.
Well, see, I feel like that's almost a big difference between them, is that they present Leeloo and her fight scene as being almost immaculate, that she does not make a mistake. She is on top of the entire situation. Bruce Willis is almost guessing his way through every situation he has to go through.
Yeah.
And so he comes off a little bit more bumbling than Leeloo does. Like, she makes the mistake of going up in the air ducts.
Yeah, a little bit, but also, like, seriously, like, the sound effects she gets during that fight scene, it's like the Batman 66 TV show.
No, some of them are, definitely. Yeah. But at the same time, like I said, it feels almost like, it's just like, well, just because she's so bad at, like, she's just on top of this, until she meets Gary Oldman, and it's almost like, well, Gary Oldman is just a pit of empathy. Like, he sucks all empathy of everything around him. He is pure evil.
They pull off a little Die Hard vent scene real quick, which I always thought that was a nice little homage. but
I mean, I was also point out the opera singer before we move on to Bruce Willis's fight scene. She has this kind of Mother Earth scene where she says the stones are inside me, and he has to pull them out of her like she's birthing them. And so this is almost a very feminine scene.
But then her last line, like before she dies, she's like, she's more fragile than she seems. She needs your help and your love. Like she needs the love of man. She needs the help of a man to get through it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that that's the central theme of the movie, and I'm having trouble thinking of how else they could have presented that. And that's why I think they present Leeloo as immaculate.
Yeah.
And then they intercut as Bruce Willis is kind of bumbling his way through but getting hurt, much like in Die Hard. But they intercut that with Gary Oldman fucking her up.
Oh yeah, and that definitely happens, but then we go to the second time, like after he gets her out of the vent, where she spends a whole scene just limp and helpless in Bruce Willis's arms. Like, she's supposed to be this immaculate warrior and stuff. I know she's in a human body, which she might not be used to, but she's supposed to be this badass warrior and stuff. Yet that's the second time there she's completely just unconscious and limp in his arms while the plot is moving forward.
That's true. But this is also where the movie is kicked into high gear. This is where Gary Oldman's dying. Like, they're trudging along, so it's not like she's weak and helpless for that long. It's like the opera singer kind of tells him, like, she's gonna need your help.
Oh yeah.
And it almost becomes like that they're in a partnership, because up to then Leeloo had been very confident and that she could protect Bruce Willis, and that's mostly definitely the relationship that was playing out.
And there's even a scene where I think it adds to her character, because she actually gets to speak more than she gets to speak a whole sentence or more of dialogue, and she kind of like cries in it and stuff when she's talking about, like, you know, well, why bother saving life with all the war and everything.
Let's set this up a little bit.
Yeah, she sees war when she's going through all the words.
She's going through the dictionary, learning the language, and she sees war. And that's one of the things where I think it subverts it again, is that all of a sudden she does have agency all over again. She doesn't just have agency, she has agency over the whole human race.
She does. And again, I like this scene for her, because again, she gets to, you know, have a little bit of a crime, when she gets to become vulnerable a little bit and gets to kind of question, you know, whether it's not even more that she actually gets depth in that character. But as soon as that happens, as soon as she gets to say something kind of deep, Bruce Willis comes back with telling her how very beautiful she is.
That's not exactly what happened, but I see your point.
Yeah, but he's
saying there's beauty in the world like love, and that's essentially the point of the movie, is that love beats triumphs over
exactly,
evil.
which I know is part of the thing, but it's more if we're just looking at it as, is she, you know, a complete female character, or, you know, a decent female character. Like, she works for the movie, definitely. But again, she also is kind of like useless for a lot of it. Like, even when they get to the temple, she wakes up enough to give them a quick plot point of, like, you know, wind opens wind or whatever. And then she just lays there unconscious again while the boys have to figure out how to save the day and open up the things until they put her in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, but she needs convincing that humanity is worth saving, and
definitely.
The convincing comes through the concept of love. But he does end it by saying beauty like you, which is what makes her kind of swoon, which is also,
but
you're
not
right.
only that, but she does even have to say, like, tell me. Like they're all like, "Oh, tell her you love her," and she's like, "Yes, tell me. I have to hear you say it."
Okay, yeah, I didn't think about that part. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's go through the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, so after being introduced as your strong female character, then fail to do anything fundamentally significant to the outcome of the plot? Anything at all?
Mostly. She does a little, but again, after being introduced, more so she is useless and she spends a lot of time unconscious or not doing anything. She has that one fight scene.
Right. No, she's completely useless because the fight scene doesn't do anything because the box is empty in the first place. It could have just as easily been stolen.
And she just ends up getting shot by Gary Oldman because of it.
All right, if she does accomplish something plot significant, is it primarily getting raped, beaten, or killed to motivate a male hero? Well, we already answered that because she doesn't do anything significant.
Well, okay, but kind of, because, again, the plot kind of does hinge on her being there at that time to stop the evil. It is up to her to stop the evil, but she's not the one getting herself there. She is getting kind of toted there by the male characters.
And once again, that's how she's a MacGuffin. She is an object that
they have to carry around. Exactly.
Yeah. Could your strong female character be seamlessly replaced with a floor lamp with some useful information written on it to help a male hero? Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Is a fundamental point of your plot that your strong female character is the strongest, smartest, meanest, toughest, or most experienced character in your story until the protagonist arrives?
Absolutely.
No.
Because again, she's this immaculate warrior. She is this tough female warrior. But again, once Bruce Willis shows up, where does all that toughness go? Where does that warrior in her go? She has that one little fight scene. Other than that, Bruce Willis is the one running around saving the day and doing all the work.
But I will say that Bruce Willis is entirely qualified from the beginning, and they point that out when the military people get there. He is a warrior of his own in the Earth realm.
Okay, so yeah, I'll give you that, but I will say that as much as she is built up and talked about as being such a warrior and everything, that is not shown throughout the movie.
No, and I will agree with that. And so we can skip question number 5, which is, does he enter the story as a bumbling fuck up, which Bruce Willis does not. He is always a badass.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, well, because he's fucking Bruce Willis. He's not going to be a bumbling idiot. He's like, no, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm Bruce Willis, so I'm going to be a badass and just kind of do my thing, and you film it.
Yeah, you film what I'm about to do, and that you're welcome.
Yeah, and don't ask for take number 2 because it's probably not going to happen.
Because Bruce Willie don't do that. All right, number 6.
I can't help but call him Bruce Willie now.
I know, it's amazing. All right, number 6. It's nice if she's super cool, or if she's hyper cool, but does she only start off that way so a male hero will look even cooler by comparison when he rescues or surpasses her? I will say she doesn't come off as that cool in the beginning. She comes off like feral, but never really cool.
Yeah, no, she is definitely not played as cool. Although, like, I guess they kind of try to play her as cool, just like the look they give her and everything with the bandages and stuff like that. But again, she's not played as like a super cool character or anything. She is played as like, a separate alien that kind of has to learn what's going on here.
Yeah. All right.
Which again can be forgiven for a lot of the humor in it, but again, the way the humor's played, it's almost just kind of like an ignorant child.
Yeah, it is. Like, and if this movie I would say if this movie just changed some of its lines and a little bit of its attitude, she would completely be a strong female character.
I think the possibility was definitely there, but again, they weren't trying to make that movie.
They
were trying to make a very simple male-centric action movie, and they definitely did that. But they kind of disguised who ended up being just pretty much a MacGuffin into a strong female character. Because again, when we first talked about doing this, I was like, yeah, she's totally a strong female character. But the more I thought about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same way I felt. So number 7, is she so strong and capable that she's never needed rescuing before now? But once the plot kicks into gear, she's suddenly captured or threatened by the villain and needs the hero's intervention. I will say no on that because her ship is shot down initially, and so...
Well, yeah, but she has no control over... But I guess, the opening scene, she doesn't need help because she can break out by herself, but it's pretty much as soon as she makes that leap and crashes into his car, then she pretty much does just need saving for the rest of the movie. But again, it starts off with him saving her, so it's not like that's that big of a change.
I would say that a lot of that can be blamed on her foreignness more so than her femaleness.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. is that she doesn't understand what's happening with the police, and she's like, well, I can't jump again because God knows.
But then again, what do you think? Do you think Bruce Willis would have done any of that or helped her out whatsoever if she wasn't an attractive-looking female?
Probably not. And that's, yeah, I think that gets back to it, and that's another discussion. But okay. Does she disappear entirely for the second half, third act of the film for any reason other than because she's doing something significant to the plot?
Okay, not specifically the second or third part, but there are large chunks of the movie where she does just disappear. Where she's supposed to be so central to the story, or like she's the one everyone is kind of after minus the stones, and she's the one that needs to get there on time, but she does just disappear, or she's just unconscious for extended amounts of time throughout the movie.
Yeah, see, I will agree with that one because her only, except for the ending where she might as well have been a MacGuffin, the only attribute she has is, or thing that she does that affects the plot is her fighting the. Are they Gorgons? Am I misremembering that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. She fights those for the box, but the box is empty, so none of it matters in the end.
Yeah.
And so I will agree with that one. And so that's all 8 questions, and Leeloo came out about 3 to 5. So not horrible, not great. A couple lines could have been changed, and she would have come off a lot stronger as a female character.
Well, like, yeah, so maybe it's just lazy writing.
I think it is in the end, but once again,
but
yeah,
again, it is a very fun movie. I'm just saying, like, after talking about this, it's not like I'm really talking down to this movie or that.
No.
But it's still a fun movie to watch. But I definitely will always kind of view it through a little bit of a different lens now that I actually watched it with the intent of finding these things out or looking for these signifiers. Now it definitely does. I will look at the character of Leeloo a little bit differently now. She isn't so much like the badass I always thought she was in my head.
No, and that's the thing, is this movie is created as a ridiculously fast-paced sci-fi movie. Like I commonly reference The Fifth Element as a perfect movie. It's just and not that it's the greatest movie. It's just that it is paced entirely perfectly. And like I said, sadly, only a couple of lines could have really made a difference.
I would say a couple of lines, and also just giving her more to do. If you're going to talk her up as being such an important character to the story, and also being such like a warrior and being such like a strong person and stuff like that, give her more to do. Don't just have her get knocked out every 5 minutes and have to get carried around. Don't have her just disappear for large chunks of time during the movie. Like, have her be more integral to the plot.